Welcome to Ask the Tech Coach, brought to you by the TeacherCast Educational Network. If you are in charge of professional development and looking to build an innovative digital learning experience, this is the podcast for you. Join us each week as we uncover strategies that tech coaches are using to drive their digital transformations one classroom at a time. And now for your host, with over 2 decades of experience working with tech coaches and ed tech companies from all around the world, Jeff Bradbury.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the TeacherCast Educational Network. My name is Jeff Bradbury. Thank you so much for joining us today and making TeacherCast your home for professional development. This is Ask the Tech Coach podcast, episode number 90. Today, we're going to be focusing on you and your school district in the event that you happen to be out for the entire year. That's right. This is the week where there's many people that are finding out their fate. Is their school district going to be happening this year, or are we going to be doing distant learning for the rest of the school year? We want to know what you guys are doing out there. If you have anything, we are actually streaming live right now on Facebook and on YouTube. We're not only calling this Ask the Tech Coach, we're calling this Tech Coach Live this week. I have 3 amazing guests on. I want to bring on today Miss Susan Vincent. Susan, how are you today? Welcome to the show.
I'm great. Great to be back for another week as we continue to survive this distance learning-a-thon and continuing to help our teachers and being more and more innovative as we continue to move forward.
Now, you've been busy. Not only have you been distance coaching, I know you've also been doing distance broadcasting. Tell us a little bit about some of the stuff that you've been doing in order to keep your religious community engaged with what's going on in your church.
Yes. So not only am I an educator, a tech coach in my full-time everyday job, I'm part-time director of communications for my church here locally. So we have been broadcasting our services every week through live stream via Facebook, and we use the Vimeo platform to put it out via our via our website. So we're very excited about the opportunity that we've been given, and it's just been great. Our normal church family is viewing, as well as, outside viewers who have just found us. So it's been awesome.
It is amazing what live video is doing. Of course, we're here on episode 90 of Ask the Tech Coach. If you guys are out there and would like to leave a comment, ask a question, I want to say hi to our good friend Craig Yen, who is out there. I want to bring on our other 2 guests for the first time on the show. She is a principal from Texas, Miss Kelly Jones. Kelly, how are you today? Welcome to the show.
Hi, I'm great. Thanks for having me.
It is so great. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I'm Kelly. This is my 5th year as principal, all in Texas. I'm from Texas. This is my 20th year in education and my first podcast.
Yay! Nice. And thank you so much for being here. I also want to bring on our good friend, Melissa. Melissa, how are you today?
I'm doing good. I'm great. I'm glad to be here again and join you guys. I love our conversations that we have.
It is great to have you here as a veteran podcaster. I want to bring back Susan, who I think I just canceled her subscription to the show.
Apparently.
That's okay. Guys, you know what?
Forget your co-host.
Oh, forget the co-host. We're all learning things here today. It's only been 90 episodes of Ask the Tech Coach. Guys, for the last 4 weeks, we've been working on Wednesday nights. We've been bringing on tech coaches, doing a roundtable meeting. If you guys are out there interested, if you're a tech coach in the professional development field, heck, I'll even do teachers and principals in here. We are meeting every single Wednesday night now at 8:30. We're having a fantastic Zoom conversation. Last week, we had like 50 people show up, and we're averaging about 50, 70 people or so. If you guys are interested in getting in touch with us, let me know. You can find us over on Twitter at TeacherCast. Leave us a voice message at teachercast.net/voicemail. We would love to have you guys join us and be a part of our TeacherCast Tech Coaches Network. And guys, let's just kind of start the conversation with this. Right now, so many states are making the decision. Should we have school for the rest of the year? Should we just go back and say another 2 weeks, another 2 weeks? First of all, what do you guys think? Should we at this point even be considering going back to school, or are we still on that up end of this curve and let's just play it safe and let's call it where it is? What do you guys think?
It's definitely been It's definitely been a fine line to follow here in Kentucky. Our cases seem to be still growing in a lot of ways. So our cutoff date for the next, big decision is May 1st here in Kentucky. It's really a hard line to follow. Our teachers want to get back to school so bad, and so do the students, and I'm sure the parents are ready. But with the cases growing, it's just hard to say, and keeping each other safe is so very important. And, whereas we as tech coaches have to, consider that and, follow the guidelines and, follow the policies that our administrators make and be ready to encourage those teachers, which we're going to talk more about tonight. Melissa, what about you?
Mm-hmm. Well, I just saw online, I was looking, scrolling through my Facebook feed, and I read that Texas hasn't even reached its peak. And so we're still not even there yet. So that's concerning for me. But then I see my son too, and he's so anxious to get back, and I'm anxious to get back and connect with my teachers again in person. We've been doing it online, but it's always nice to see someone in person. We were just driving today, getting out just to go pick up chicken. It was like a big thing, we're going to pick up chicken today. And so we passed by the high school, and my son's thinking, I don't even know if I want to go there, Mom. So it's sad to see him. He's looking forward to high school. He was looking forward to his last year in 8th grade. So it's sad for a lot of kids. And this is my first year as a tech coach, so I didn't get to finish complete in person. I did get to learn this way though, so I am learning something new. But yeah, that's kind of where I am at right now.
Kelly, talk to us a little bit about this. If we decide that we are going to be out for the remainder of the year, talk to us here as the principal. Does anything have to change? Do we need to be thinking differently? I know there's a lot of teachers out there that basically have been in the mindset of only 2 more weeks. But if we're suddenly staring at this going 9 more weeks, 6 more, whatever this is, do we as tech coaches need to be preparing for that? And if so, what can we be thinking about in order to help out our teachers, our buildings, and our administration?
Well, I know our teachers, we've already got the mindset that we're, of not coming back. We thought, let's just think of that. And then if we get to come back, that's just a huge bonus. So we're kind of just planning as if we're not coming back. So I think that makes them feel a little more comfortable because they know that what they're doing is going to go through the whole year. And I think what they need is just that support on the tools that they're using. They're learning new things every week. And so just adding to their toolbox instead of more websites and more tools, just getting really good at a few is what we've been focusing on.
What have you been focusing on? What are you really, really working on with your staff?
So right now we're working on Google Classroom and Seesaw.
That's a good one. And how are you guys using Seesaw?
So our teachers are using that as their majority. Well, a little more than half our teachers are using Seesaw as their platform to communicate with students. To have students submit work to them. Read to them videos, and just so they can, and then they in turn give feedback to those students and parents through Seesaw. And so like this last week, we had one of our teachers who is really good at Seesaw and has already learned some of the new things. She taught some of our other teachers that wanted to learn more about Seesaw. So I feel like that's kind of what we're focusing on right now, is getting really good at 1 or 2 of these things, and then we'll add more to our toolbox when we're ready.
Do you find that many of your teachers are having difficulties making the transition? And if so, how are you supporting them? How are coaches supporting them? How are you helping them go from physical into virtual?
So we had about a week to prepare before we went to the remote learning. And I started it by modeling. So I started a Google Classroom forum where they had to join and post assignments, just modeling some of the things that we're asking them to do. Same thing with Seesaw, just starting it with myself and then letting them practice. And they see that I'm doing it as well, and I'm making mistakes with it, just like they are. We're asking each other questions. I think one of the most important things right now is just knowing that we're all learning this together. We're all in this together.
Mm-hmm.
That is such good advice, Susan. And that's something that we were talking about earlier. We all have the same goal, which is just be the best tech coach that we could be, provide the best professional development, make sure that the resources are there. I mean, obviously that's why, or one of the major reasons why we're doing our tech coach meetings every Wednesday night.
Absolutely.
What's going through your mind? Because you work with a lot of teachers. You have obviously the applications. Do you find yourself focusing on one or two pieces of tech? Do you find yourself just being the tech therapist? Do you find yourself just trying to, where do you find yourself spending more time on when you do have a chance to reach out to those teachers?
I would say all of them, right?
Yeah, for me, all of the above. I guess tool-wise, I've been trying to stay 2 or 3 days ahead of learning Zoom, ahead of my teachers. Our high school has been just this past week, which was our third, I think, they're all running together, our third week, they started day-to-day Zoom meetings with their students. So in the midst of all that, I've been learning about the security settings, trying to, follow the COPA and FERPA laws, and just making a series of videos. I call it the Susan Zoom Show. I think I'm up to season 1, episode 6 now of my Zoom training videos. It's become the running joke. But, they've been so appreciative of that. And I've actually enjoyed learning about delved us into the realm of, we have our IT director, very gracious and, ready to help us with security features at the drop of a hat. Pretty much, he is awesome. Has purchased the educational version of Zoom for us, so now we can authenticate users and truly feel that we're being safe and alleviate a lot of parent concerns. So that's been the big tool I've been dealing with. But on the other realm of things, I've definitely been the encourager and the motivator and the cheerleader, just keeping those hesitant teachers motivated, thinking, yes, you can do this. You can learn Google Classroom as a first grade teacher, and you can use it, and you will be okay. And we're going to make it through.
You had mentioned that there's a lot of great software out there. We've had the opportunity to do a lot of shows recently with some of these ed tech companies. We're going to be releasing those episodes this week. We actually released one on Friday on TeacherCast. And, I got to ask you, Kelly, as a principal, is it helping or is it too confusing with all of this new technology being pushed on, all these new app companies trying to say, use my stuff for free? Is it a distraction? Is it good? Where do you fall in on this as an administrator?
Well, I think at first it was distracting. Well, I would say more overwhelming. And I had to actually talk to some of my teachers about being careful what they're sharing on Facebook and social media, because I felt like we were pushing out too many free things and maybe even overwhelming parents. So that's kind of where we've reined in and let's pick a few of these free things and let's get really good at it. Like Zoom, we're doing Zoom. We have the education version of that. Also, Screencastify and Loom. So we've chosen a few that we're doing and that we're pushing out and working with kids as well. But yes, it was very overwhelming at first.
Do you find yourself as an administrator looking for different things? I mean, this week we like I said, we are very fortunate enough. We're releasing shows with an amazing science curriculum, math curriculum, social studies curriculum. I mean, what are you looking for when you start to get all these emails in? Are you just trying to find free? Are you trying to find useful and helpful? Are you trying to align a new app to a curriculum? Or are you just sitting there going, delete, 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 delete?
Well, to be honest, at this point, we're going into week 3 of virtual learning, of the remote learning. So I have a file folder, on my email, and I've kind of been putting them in there until we're ready to introduce something new. I take the pulse of my staff every so often, and they're not ready right now for anything new. They just keep, like I said, they want to just get better at what we've already introduced. So I will introduce more, but just not this week. Maybe next week we might, pull out one thing and introduce that, but we're just not quite ready.
Mm-hmm.
Melissa, where are you with everything? I know
Well,
you've got a lot on your plate.
Well, yeah, we're kind of in the same boat, just kind of thinking, using the tools that we have and getting better at them. Like, for example, we're going to be teaching like forms, just the basics, because we have some teachers that don't use forms, and just telling them, giving them ideas of how they can be used. And then Google Slides too. Some of them are amazed on some of the things that you can do in Google Slides. So just getting better at those tools that we have, because right now everything is new for them. This whole learning online is new. So just using the tools that we have and getting better at them. That's kind of the way I see it. And I think we're going to move forward with that. I mean, I'm like Kelly, I'm saving all of those tools in my back pocket for when we do start again, or when I see that, hey, we're ready to go. But like extensions, like teachers are excited about extensions, and especially the ones that work like in Google Meet. I was on Facebook yesterday, and I've always like wondered, like, how can you get, in Zoom you can have a virtual background, but how could you do that in Google Meets? And a friend of mine, Wanda Terrell, she posted on her Facebook, hey, have virtual backgrounds in Google Meets. And I was like, oh, I got to know this. And it's called Snap Camera. I mean, you have to download it, but you can turn it on and off. But I was, I spent some time last night just playing around with it. I think it's fun, and it's kind of a stress reliever right now. You get to think of something different that's fun. So that's kind of where I've been.
When we're looking at helping things out in the long run, I think a lot of tech coaches have all these blogs that we go to, the free text, the Eric Kurtz's, the Shakeups, all these great sites. I think it's easy for us to take one of those blogs that has 25 Chrome extensions for, and we throw it at our teachers, and they're like, what do I do with this? What's your recommendations for things like this? Do we go to Eric Kurtz, who I religiously look at, and go, all right, I'm going to take this awesome blog post with all these great videos, and I'm going to send an email to my staff? Or do we dissect that and pick out one or two? Susan, what works for you when you're seeing all these different resources and stuff, and everyone's popping out these amazing blog posts? What are we doing?
I tend to dissect it myself. I'll give credit where I got the information, where I learned about it. Hey, I learned this from TeacherCast. I learned this from Shake Up Learning, whatever. But I tend to dissect it. And like Kelly referred to a while ago, I kind of know where my teachers are and gauge, are they ready for it? I don't want to just send a whole blog post of 25 ways to use Google Forms and totally overwhelm them. I mean, I did that a few times when we first started the distance learning, but then I thought, no, they're not ready. I need to go back like I normally do things face to face and do the same thing with e-learning, and, individualize instruction for our teachers, just like our teachers are encouraged to individualize instruction for our students. We have to know where they are and not throw, one of our viewers talked about, don't throw the shiny new tools at them. Know what they're ready for, know what they can handle.
But how do you do that? Because as Melissa just said, I want to be throwing the cool backgrounds because I want to be the cool teacher tomorrow in class. And here's the this and here's the that. I mean, the other day we had our Seder dinner here, and my brother-in-law is like, how do I change Google Meet so I have everybody, Brady Bunch? And I'm sitting here off camera on Seder going, it's a Chrome extension.
There's an extension for that.
Everyone's looking at me like, it's a what? And I'm like, oh.
I think by just doing it, like through the trainings that I'm having, I'm doing those things. And so people are asking. So when they start asking, that's when I start spilling it. Like, hey, you know what? Would y'all be interested in learning about? They're like, yeah, I want to know how you got that, or how are you doing this? And so that's kind of what sparked that. I was like, well, I need to make an extension, just teach them about extensions. And I'm just using the ones that I know. Of course, some of the new ones that come up with Google Meets, those are ones I've added, but it's making things run more proficiently or efficiently. And so that's why, if they ask, I'm going to go ahead and share it with them. They seem like they're excited.
What's your guilty pleasure now, Melissa? The one thing you can't wait to show this off.
Well, I like color pick eyedropper. That is like one of my favorite because, when I make my different presentation, I am all about like the color scheme and how it looks. And so that's one of my favorite. And then Duelist has become one of my favorite now because I'm going to try it out so I can use it with Google Meet so I can still see the people that I'm talking to. So it doesn't seem like I'm just talking to my screen. I can actually see them. So I'm excited to use that too. But yeah, I have quite a bit of, and Tab Cloud. Cloud. Oh my gosh, Tab Cloud is my favorite. I even have one like COVID work, so I can just pull it up in the morning.
I've been making a lot of use of full page screen capture and then putting that on a slide or putting that on a thing or something like that. Kelly, do you have a guilty pleasure, something that you can't wait to show somebody, or something that you can't live without right now?
I don't know. I don't know what one particular one is. I use a lot of the Google tools and the extensions. I don't know about one.
Well, Kelly does a great job on her shout out. So her using like forms and what's the name of that? I can't even think of it. I've lost my mind right now.
Autocrat.
Yes, Autocrat. Kelly does a great job with that. And so we've worked together and we've shared that. We made like a YouTube video once together of us sharing that, and she's presented. So I think, Kelly, that's one of your good ones. Uh-huh.
Susan, what are you using these days? Like, what's the one thing that, tomorrow you're going to do a big PD. This is the one thing that you can't stop talking about.
I'm loving Wakelet right now. Curation, Wakelet. I'm loving Wakelet. I mean, we're talking about curating things for our teachers. So that's one of the things I'm using to do that, to divide things into categories. And also, I'll see a tweet here and there and, I want to save that so I can remember to look at later. And Wakelet has been a tool to help me actually go back and look at things later. We all save those things to look at later, then we hardly ever look at them. But Wakelet has been a tool to help motivate me to do that. So yeah, that's my new best friend lately.
So one of the questions that we talked about last week at the Tech Coach meeting, which by the way is Wednesdays at 8:30, I wanted to bring up today, which is this. In my district, we've been in the third marking period, right? We did about 70% in class, and then we actually extended the third marking period, which is actually over on Monday. So, for the third marking period, it was half physical, half digital. Now we're moving into a completely digital marking period. And for some of my teachers, it's a completely digital class, meaning like our health teacher, as an example, they're getting their kids for the first time and they're never going to meet their kids. Clearly, we have kids that are there every day. We have kids that have never been to class. We're not unlike anybody else, right? How do you do this? What are your advices? What are you seeing with your teachers? What are you seeing in other school districts, right? Because we all have students who come and don't do work. We all have students that come and they work constantly. We have students that come and they exist, but they don't exist. Talk to me. Where are you guys with this? Because we're all moving into that completely digital marking period here. What do you do if you don't see a kid for the next 9 weeks? What do you do if a kid legitimately doesn't have the technology, doesn't have the Wi-Fi, doesn't have the whatever? I know this is a difficult topic here, but I'm going to put Kelly on the spot.
I was going there myself.
Well, so we just rolled out our grading guidelines Saturday. So this is going to be new for us. We're going to talk about that this week in our Zoom meetings. But I think our biggest challenge is those kids that are not online, that don't have the Wi-Fi access. We are communicating with parents via phone and encouraging those parents to send pictures of the hard copies. We've got little packets that we give out every week for parents that don't have Wi-Fi access. And so we're encouraging them to take pictures of the pages and then send it to the teacher so that we can have, something to look at to see how the kids are doing and progressing. But that's our biggest challenge right now, is working with those kids that are not able to get on Zoom and, the Wi-Fi. But, most of our families, and a lot of our families have cell phones. I mean, so even most of our families can, they have that cell phone where they can take a picture of something. And even some of those kids are getting on Zoom. They're just not getting on as much as the others because their parents may work. But our teachers are being very flexible about doing some of those meetings in the evening times for those kids as well. But that is a challenge.
That's one thing my principals encourage, just keep making those connections with the parents. And then also she's been, offering like, what can I do to help you with that? So, let's think of some new creative ways that we can do that, So that's kind of what we've been doing too. Just my principal has stepped in and she's, trying to brainstorm some different ideas as well of how you can reach all those kids, because we try not to leave anyone behind.
I think that's extremely important, making sure that there's room for everybody in the game. I know tomorrow our district's doing a flex day where we don't have classes, but we're checking in with all the kids and we're having those opportunities to do one-to-one meetings, kind of get caught up. I know I'm basically doing office hours. Any student wants to talk about their grades or anything like that, I'm available all day, and I'm giving them appointment slots through Google Classroom. I don't know what the next couple of weeks is going to look like for us. I don't know how it's going to be. I don't know yet how much I'm going to change, knowing that I'm moving into this. I started to change a lot of my lesson plans from, completely Google Docs, Google this, Google that, to like my broadcasting kids. I told them, go take their video cameras and go make me a how-to video, go make me a video on how to go bake a cake, how to tie your shoe, how to shoot a hockey puck or whatever. I mean, I'm trying to get them out of the house doing things, so that way they're not just on the Chromebook, because, school should not be staring at a screen the entire day.
Exactly.
You're right.
Susan, what do you think?
Well, I mean, and kind of tagging off Melissa's, our administrators at 4 campuses that I tech coach with, the principals, again, have been just great, asking what can they do to help, and, encouraging our teachers and keeping them motivated in the area of, teachers are asking, well, what am I supposed to do if they don't turn in his work? And just kind of turning the tables. And I've asked the same question to them too, as well as the principals asking them, what would you do in class if they didn't turn in their work? You would, speak to them one-on-one. You would make contact with the parent, follow those same channels. Even though we're not face-to-face, you can still follow those same channels. And, if you've done all of those, then turn their name into the principal and let the principal kind of follow up with the parent from the administrator or the guidance counselor, and whatever has to happen. Some of those same face-to-face procedures, it seems like the teachers are hesitant to still follow those because we're at distance learning. Well, this is the time where we definitely need to be following those channels and making those contacts in the proper protocol.
And keeping up with those are reward systems too. We were on a meeting the other day. My principal was talking about, the teachers are doing PBIS, and there's a choice board. If the teacher notices that a student has completed their assignments, then they get to pick an activity off the choice board, whether it have breakfast with the principal or anything like that. That's going to encourage our students. I know, one thing that's come out for my son, he was concerned about band tryouts for next year because he's going to be a freshman. And so I saw him outside practicing. I said, Keith, what are you doing? He was like, I'm preparing. I'm making my video, because for band tryouts now we just have to submit a video of our tryout. He goes, I'm kind of excited about this now. He goes, because if I mess up, I can do it again. So keeping those students still motivated, and like I said earlier, just how is it going to look now, but how can we still move forward, but it's just going to look a little different. And
that's the innovation and thinking ahead that we have to use right now, but then we still need to keep that in the back of our brains for when we do come back face to face, because practicing for a band tryout outside and making a video of it, why not do that anyway? Thinking outside the box. Let's continue to be innovative as we, move forward and come back face to face.
That's one of the positive things I think that's going to come out of it. We're going to be used to trying these different things. So I'm excited. Like when we do get back, our teacher's going to start, I can do it this way because I learned that during that whole distance learning time.
Exactly. And this may be a whole other topic for another day, even a whole another episode.
Well, we'll certainly be here every single Sunday night. We might move some things around. As many of you guys know, I'm actually in the process of moving. If you can see behind me, I've got boxes and cleaning supplies all over the place. But we're going to be sitting here every single Sunday to the best of our abilities doing Tech Coach Live. And of course, Ask the Tech Coach drops every single Monday morning around 6 o'clock is I think what we're still doing. doing. And you can check us out over at askthetechcoach.com. We have a lot of great podcasts, blogs, video tutorials, and of course, free templates for you guys. Check out all the great things that are there. And of course, if you're interested in joining us on Wednesday nights, we would love to have you guys. We do our Tech Coach meetings at 8:30. Guys, we've had a lot of people watching us live, and I want to say thank you to all of my co-hosts for being on the show today. Kelly, why don't you tell everybody where we can get in touch with you, and how do we find you on your social medias?
Okay. Do you want me to? Would you like me to tell you that?
Just tell him.
What?
Tell him your Twitter handle.
Okay. Well, you think I would know it? It's @KJones_M.
Nice. Thank you so much for being here today. Melissa, how do we find out all the great things that you're doing?
At Summerford Stars on Twitter.
Nice.
And then I have a it's bit.ly at Teaching Blueprint too.
Nice. Susan, we've been doing this thing for a while now. We're at episode 90, and it's great to have you here join us. And you've been telling me a lot of things about your broadcasting. We want to open this up. If anybody here has any questions, please let us know. We would love to have you guys be a part of the TeacherCast Educational Network family. Susan, where can we find out all the things that you're doing these days?
I'm on Twitter at SV314DWS, and you can find me on my blog at techimaginations.net.
Well, of course, we want to say thank you to everybody out there on YouTube and Facebook for not only sharing this video, checking us out. There's been a lot of great comments and conversations. We've been trying to put them all here on the chat, but we want to say thank you guys. This is episode 90. Thank you guys for supporting the show. Thank you for supporting TeacherCast. And this is like probably the last big broadcast that we're doing here from our studios in North Jersey, broadcasting to you guys soon from our new studio that I'm going to be building in Connecticut. Oh my goodness, it's going to be up there. It's going to be fun. It's going to be cold, but we're having a good time. So on behalf of Susan, Kelly, Melissa, and everybody here in the TeacherCast Educational Network, my name is Jeff Bradbury, reminding you to keep up the great work in your classrooms and continue sharing your passions with your students.
You've been listening to Ask the Tech Coach, hosted by Jeff Bradbury of the TeacherCast Educational Network. Please reach out to the show with all of your questions on Twitter at AskTheTechCoach or online at www.askthetechcoach.com. Be sure to subscribe to our podcast so you don't miss any future episodes. And please take a moment to write a review in the App Store.